Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video dives into a royal family dispute that's been making waves lately. King Charles and Prince Andrew are reportedly in a tense standoff over Andrew's continued residence at the luxurious royal lodge on the Windsor estate. This conflict isn't just about family dynamics. It raises questions about royal finances, property rights, and what the future holds for the Duke of York. Make sure to stick around until the end. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and let's get into all the details of this royal feud. Prince Andrew has called Royal Lodge home since 2004, residing there even after stepping down from his royal duties. But as King Charles has taken over the reins of the monarchy, he's made it clear that he intends to modernize and streamline the royal household, making changes that, in some cases, have disrupted long-standing traditions. As part of these shifts, it seems the king prefers that Andrew move from the 30-room mansion at Royal Lodge to a smaller, more modest property, Frogmore Cottage. Located on the Windsor estate, Frogmore Cottage previously served as the UK home for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle before they relocated to the United States. It's a cozy residence, significantly smaller than Royal Lodge, and far less costly to maintain. However, it appears that Prince Andrew is digging in his heels, determined to hold on to Royal Lodge despite mounting pressure. This tension between King Charles and Prince Andrew speaks to a larger theme within the royal family, balancing a tradition of privilege with an evolving sense of public responsibility. The high upkeep of properties like Royal Lodge, particularly when they're occupied by non-working royals, is increasingly under scrutiny by both the public and, evidently, by King Charles himself. With Andrew's annual allowance cut off, the family is now faced with the question of whether he can, or should, continue to maintain such a costly residence. Since stepping back from his official royal duties, Prince Andrew has faced financial challenges, especially now that he no longer receives his annual allowance of £1 million. The upkeep of Royal Lodge, with its extensive grounds, historical architecture, and numerous rooms, comes with a hefty price tag. To maintain such a residence, Andrew will need significant funds, and it's unclear where those funds will come from in the long term. According to an updated version of the book, Charles III, New King, New Court. The Inside Story by Robert Hardman, a source close to Andrew, has claimed that he's seeking alternative income sources. Reportedly, he's tapping into his network of contacts in international trade to generate the necessary revenue to cover Royal Lodge's maintenance costs. This arrangement could allow Andrew to keep his residence, if the income proves stable. But it's a precarious solution, and many wonder if these newfound sources of revenue will be sufficient in the long run. The source tells Hardman he claims to have found other sources of income related to his contacts in international trade, sufficient to cover all his costs, which would be a welcome outcome for all parties if that turns out to be the case. But as to whether this funding can be relied upon in the long term is another matter. This statement hints at the uncertainty surrounding Andrew's finances, leaving the door open for future discussions on his living arrangements. Royal Lodge, a historic and impressive property dating back to the mid-17th century, has long held a unique place within the royal family. It wasn't until the 1930s that it was first gifted as a royal residence to George VI and the Queen Mother, then known as the Duke and Duchess of York. The property, with its sprawling grounds, became a cherished retreat for the Queen Mother, who resided there until her death in 2002. Following the Queen Mother's passing, the lease was granted to Prince Andrew, along with additional structures on the property, such as Gardener's Cottage, Chapel Lodge, 6 lodge cottages, and accommodations for police security. In total, the estate covers a substantial 40 hectares of land. At the time, Andrew was expected to cover the costs of all renovations, which reportedly totaled around £7.5 million. Since then, the property has served as his primary residence, where he raised his 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and later shared the space with his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. However, recent photos of the property have shown visible signs of wear, including black mold, cracks, and peeling paint, raising concerns about the upkeep of such an extensive estate. The condition of Royal Lodge has not gone unnoticed, and for some, It's become another point in favor of King Charles's suggestion that Andrew downsize to Frogmore Cottage. The news about Prince Andrew's ongoing battle to remain at Royal Lodge has sparked mixed reactions among the British public. For some, the idea that a non-working royal like Andrew should continue to live in a 30-room mansion, especially when taxpayer funds are indirectly involved, feels outdated and out of touch with the challenges faced by everyday citizens. They believe that given his current status, Andrew should accept Frogmore Cottage as a reasonable alternative and avoid burdening the monarchy with unnecessary expenses. Others, however, argue that Prince Andrew has invested significant resources into Royal Lodge, both financially and emotionally, and that it's reasonable for him to want to stay. After all, he's lived there for nearly 2 decades, raising his family and building a sense of home. For these supporters, the decision to stay at Royal Lodge is about more than just finances. It's about preserving a piece of personal history. The controversy touches on larger questions about the responsibilities of the monarchy in today's world, especially concerning transparency and accountability. As public opinion continues to evolve, the royal family must navigate the delicate balance between tradition and the growing expectations for a more modern and financially responsible monarchy. It's worth noting that Prince Andrew isn't the only occupant of Royal Lodge. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, still resides there as well. Despite their divorce, Andrew and Sarah have maintained a close relationship and even continue to live under the same roof. This unusual arrangement has raised eyebrows over the years, but it appears to work for the two of them. However, it also adds another layer of complexity to the dispute over Royal Lodge. Should King Charles ultimately succeed in convincing Andrew to relocate, it remains unclear where Sarah Ferguson would go. Her presence in the household complicates matters and might make a move to a smaller residence, such as Frogmore Cottage, more challenging. As the standoff continues, the future of Royal Lodge hangs in the balance. While Prince Andrew seems determined to remain in his longtime home, his financial situation could ultimately dictate his next steps. Without the steady income that came from his former allowance, Andrew may struggle to keep up with the estate's maintenance costs, especially if his alternative income sources prove unreliable over time. For King Charles, this dispute may represent a broader effort to bring the royal family's affairs in line with a more streamlined, modern image. The decision to suggest Frogmore Cottage as an alternative residence aligns with his ongoing initiatives to reduce excess within the royal household. Should Andrew eventually agree to the move, it could mark a symbolic shift, underscoring Charles's influence in reshaping the monarchy. On the other hand, if Prince Andrew successfully finds long-term funding, he might hold on to Royal Lodge, at least for the foreseeable future. For now, though, it seems that both parties are holding their ground, with no clear resolution in sight. This standoff between King Charles and Prince Andrew raises some fascinating questions about the future of the British monarchy. As the public grows increasingly critical of the costs associated with royal lifestyles, Charles appears to be focused on adapting to these new realities. By encouraging family members to adopt a more modest approach, he may be signaling a shift in how the monarchy functions, from a symbol of tradition to one of responsibility and transparency. While the royal family's affairs have always attracted public interest, the level of scrutiny has only increased in recent years, especially when it comes to finances. Charles's push for Andrew to downsize reflects an awareness that the monarchy must evolve to maintain public support in a rapidly changing world. Whether or not Prince Andrew ultimately relocates, this situation is a reminder that even the royal family is not immune to the pressures of modern expectations. And that's the latest update on the royal family's ongoing feud over Royal Lodge. What do you think? Should Prince Andrew make the move to Frogmore Cottage, or does he have the right to stay in Royal Lodge? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more royal news, and stay tuned for the next update. Thanks for watching.